What up, man? As always, for the playback. Sorry. For the playback, skip a little bit or chill with your boy as I roll up and wait for the people to show up. Your choice. But we have some interesting things to talk about this morning. Real interesting. Because people don't know, a lot of people came in between this time frame. And to be honest, a lot of people came in not only between 1820 to 1897, another 12 million people came in from the 1890s to 1900 something, to like the mid 1950s, but also before 1820, a lot of people came in as well. What's up, CR? Up early morning on that bake mode. Man, yeah, we just getting started. So, like, think about this, man. You got a list of vessels coming in between 1820 to 1897, and I think it's the accidental smoking gun I think it's the smoking gun that I accidentally clicked on yesterday, 2 days ago. I wasn't even trying to click on this. I wasn't even looking for this. But the ancestors knew I was looking for it. The ancestors knew I needed it. So I saved it. The other day, I was like, this looks pretty interesting. A bunch of people coming in on ships from Germany and Holland. Okay. But now it's starting to make sense. I'm starting to slowly put the story together on how they expanded into Alabama, how they took power in the South, how things got taken over. I think I'm starting to really get a good idea on that. And I do believe that even though this is going to be talking about a ship, multiple ships coming in, I do believe that it could be something else too. I think the whole history is pretty sinister on how they got rid of what we had going on, our culture, our civilization, our old world buildings, and all of these things. All right, I'm wrapped up. I'm rolled up. Let me scoot this forward. Pull this up. All right, man. So, man, what's so important about this? Now, what is this? You know, like I said, I just kind of clicked on it. And many of y'all, by just looking at it, you can kind of tell. So have you seen the passport video on YouTube from the Department of State? No. A passport video, no. Doesn't ring a bell. But yeah, so and what's going on, Rashida? How you doing this morning? But yeah, so you got the passenger list coming into New York. Now, the first thing you'll start to think is Ellis Island, right? But Ellis Island was between the years of 1892 to 1954. So Ellis Island was during that time, and during that time they had brought in 12 million. Now that's a lot of folks to bring in. I really don't know how the hell. I mean, that's a lot of folks to bring in. Appreciate that, CR. That's a lot of folks. What's up, y'all? Good morning, y'all. So that's a lot of folks to bring in, right? between these years, 1892 to 1954, and we know about this. But do we know about this? Who are these people if they wasn't the Ellis Island people? What's up, Peace and Light, Lorena? What's up, Yaya? Yeah, do we know about this? These people between 1820 and 1897, and why does it matter that they're flooding in people during 1820 to 1897? Well, for those who've been following me, I've been more concerned about 1810 to 1840 in Alabama, in the South. In the South period, I'm hyper focused on Alabama because it's the creation of a new state, right? It's the beginnings of being populated. So if I can figure out the story of what happened to Alabama, I can figure out the story of what happened to Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Florida, the rest, and likely the colonies as well. So I'm super hyper focused. What's up, Mocha? Grand Rising. So I'm really hyper focused between those years, and it wasn't until either this morning or last night, I realized that year was between these years. Now, why is this important? Like I just said about the Alabama thing, but let's look at Alabama numbers. So this morning, my goal was, okay, so what first things first, let me pull this up and give you my thought process. So we know that 41,000 people, black people, so-called, right, pop up in Alabama out of nowhere, and they call them slaves. Now, we now know that the number jumps up considerably, not because, well, it is because they just started counting the black people there, but it's because they started counting more counties. Here they counted 8 counties in the census. Here they counted 30 counties in the census. Here they counted about 50 counties in the census. And right here, you get close to the 60 or so, 61, whatever counties that Alabama has. And each time they enter into new counties, randomly more black people pop up, right? Okay, so the next thing I know is I didn't find vessels for those people. I didn't find newspaper clippings talking about a bunch of liquidation on slaves being sold. I didn't see anybody being transferred from other states. That was the next thing. I was like, all these numbers continue to rise. None of them are falling a 40,000, 50,000 drop enough to say, hey, all these people went from here to here. All right. So then I started to think, well, if 41,000 black people popped up in Alabama out of nowhere, how many white people popped up in Alabama out of nowhere? And where did they come from? And is there going to be an equal subtraction of free white persons on the census in other states to make up for the transference of white folks to Alabama? Or do they come in some other way? Right? That's why I started thinking more about this again. I was like, wait a minute. I did accidentally click on that one document talking about a bunch of people coming in. And I was like, because another reason why I started thinking about this is, I said, hold on, what'd you say? True, my family and then slavers moved to Alabama from South Carolina because they was broke, allegedly. Right, and that's some of the stories. Now, some people did move. Don't get me wrong. I know some stories of people moving from the colonies, and they said that they took their so-called slaves. I only know a few stories. Took a couple so-called slaves with them. And it makes sense because as you enter into a new territory, you will bring some people. But will you bring enough to make up the amount of numbers that it needs from other states, or will you have to bring in people? Now, I was just on Crew Cuts Live. He said that's first. That first sentence under the number chart speaks volumes. The first sentence under that number chart. Was it on the last thing I was showing you? Hold on. Oh, you talking about that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, and for many reasons too, because it says they were black or unmixed African descent, and it says, and it lets you know that the bulk of the people were not mixed with a bunch of mulattoes. It tells you how many mulattoes there was as well, because people want to say, hey, and this is what he's talking about for y'all that don't know this line right here. A lot of people will say, hey, the everybody was raped by a slave owner back in the day, right? And this is the census form between 1790 to 1850. So half of that, 1790, 1800, 1810, 1820. This is the full time during slavery. I'm tripping. I was about to say half of that. No, the whole time during slavery. So the whole time during slavery, except for the early 1700s, right? The mid to early 1700s, which that whatever. But this is only showing that only 246,000 mulattoes were produced out of almost 3 million blacks, right? And that's the ones that are so-called slaves. Yeah, they'll say we're all African. Yeah, they said it on this document once, but all the census forms prior to this didn't really say it. Didn't say the word African, which is kind of funny. This thing came out in 1860, I believe. This form when they kind of put them all together, and I think the thing is you have this form where they put us all together with these years, showing the slaves and stuff like that, right? I can't find an equal document that shows me all the white folks in aggregate like this. Like by state broken down, just white folks between 1790 to 1850. Why did y'all focus so much on making this document for the slaves, for the black folks? Think about that. Census Department. What did you need to know? You already had it in other paperwork. Why and how come you didn't aggregate all of the white folks into a document? And I got to go. So now that's kind of leading into what I was doing this morning. Them people wasn't here. Now that's lead to excuse me, to what I was doing this morning, which was excuse me. I was literally pulling up all of the census forms from each year and trying to find totals by state. Now, this one gives me free white person, free white males. They don't give me a total. They give me a total of everybody all together on the end, so that kind of pisses me off. They didn't give me a total, but at least I have it broken down by state, and I have to go in here and add these lines together to figure out how many white folks were in each state after I add each line. And I may have to do that. I'm still trying to find another one where I don't have to do that. So this is the 1820. Then I grab the 1830. And on the 1830, it does have it broken down by state. If it'll catch up with me, let me try this. It has one page where they break it down by state. Right here. But they lump together in the free population. So the free black people are lumped into this number right here, and I don't like that. And then you got the slaves separated, federal number for each state or whatever. But so for this one, it's still not going to be super correct. I'm gonna have to deduct a little bit, but at least it'll give me an idea, and it's broken down by state. So this is 1830. So what I'm gonna have to do, and I haven't done it yet, is look at each state 1820 to 1830 and see what kind of rise happens to make up 309,000 people in Alabama, 191,000 white. Now notice this in Alabama in 1830, right? I think this is 1830. You have 191,000 whites, 117,000 so-called slaves, but black folks, and then there's some so-called free black folks in there too. Now, first of all, where did these folks come from? That's 300,000 people that popped up kind of out of nowhere. Okay, in the 1830. Now, some of them were counted. Eight counties were counted before, and you're thinking exactly what I was thinking, Cr. So, I'm gonna have to either upload the documents, and I'll show you real quick. I'm probably gonna have to upload the documents because I just asked ChatGPT. 3 people asking to play a damn game. It's like there's no context. It's like these people. I don't even know how that works, man. I don't even think these people are in here watching the live stream. It's like, how do you just keep getting no? How do we every time we go live, we get a Grand Rising? How come every time we go live, we get a notification about somebody wanting to play a game? And it's like, if you was watching a live stream right now, they can't be watching a live stream. You can't be sitting here watching. Yeah, I'm looking at the 1830 census. And, hey man, you want to play this game real quick, sir? Do you realize? Do you see any game playing going on over here? I don't understand that. I think it's just I don't know how that works. It might just they can't be watching. It must just be whatever. But right here it said I asked it. Well, that's the second thing I asked it. It was right here. I said, what are the total numbers of free white persons on the American census in the years of 1790, 18, blah, 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 right? I said, please break this down by state. And they basically were like, I'm sorry, but I wasn't able to locate complete state-by-state free white persons breakdown totals. Now, let me ask this the same thing for black people and see what it says. That's kind of funny. Hold on. Let me do black people. I didn't do that. We'll say colored persons. Well, I say got to take the free off. We'll just say of colored persons. Let's see if it could give me something on that. Because it's going to show, let's see. See, my thing, so this is what I'm assuming. AI is only good enough, like I said before, if the documents aren't, if the words of the document have to be on a website. It's like it can't open up the document and go through it or something. So I'm probably gonna have to feed it each one of the census forms, and then it might be able to be like, oh, calculate the numbers and all of that other stuff, man. So yeah, so really, there's no easy way to do it as of right now, and the census people purposely didn't make a document for it, but they made a document for us. And I think that's for propaganda reasons, to be honest. Because we know that they just counted black people as slaves. And another thing, let me show you this that I found. This is on the same topic of the census. So this is from these are the 1820, I think, census instructions. The instructions to and the oaths that some of the oaths that the census takers take. Okay. My main thing is I always like looking at these because I want to know, what do you mean by head of household and what do you mean by slave? Now, free white person, it is what it is. Well, I want to know that too. What do they say? Now, they really still don't always do that, bro. Who you calling them, man? See, this is why I don't like dealing with goddamn Twitter. I'm about to go on there and fry his ass. I should be ignoring those trolls. But okay, so what do they mean by head of household? Well, it says in 1820, who was in 1820 the head, and who's the head? The master, mistress, steward, overseer, or other principal persons, as can be the case, be made the case of the family. So Master doesn't mean necessarily just slave master. So an overseer doesn't just mean some YT man that the master done put on a slave field to watch over your ass with a whip. Ain't that funny? Because a lot of people will say, oh man, you know how they was with them overseers. You know, they had the overseers out there. Completely muddying up the word and its usage on purpose. Appreciate that. How you doing this morning? N. I was like, who is that? Am I missing your name? But it just says N. Okay, appreciate that, N. Goo the Hood Guru says, in 1800s, I read free white persons may have meant dark-skinned Europeans. So it's up in the air on when those things and categorizations were used versus what these white T folks was using. It could be either or, because one, until I see it from a government document directly, I just don't want to say it. But of course they be lying, right? So they also be lying. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all about trying to catch them in their lies. But I gotta have hard proof to say for sure. But I'm with you on that for sure, Hood Guru. Because, and I'll tell you why. Because even though, okay, let's just say this. I don't know whether they listed them under free white males or not, black folks under free white males or not per se. I'd have to see like a person who I know for sure is a black person listed, like maybe, and I haven't really looked for this. Maybe I should see a black person that's a black person listed on a later census as a black person, but see him on an earlier census as a free white person. Then I'd be like, bet I found the smoking gun. But I hadn't really been looking into that. But I will tell you this: the free white category is one category. Like, for instance, let me pull. I was gonna pull this up anyway. This handwritten one. Okay, so your free white categories was one category, right? And then you have head of families. There definitely is a good possibility, not possibility, but a good reason to believe that a black person would be a head of family, master, overseer, or whatever, right? Landowner, or just a man that is over the family, just over that land. And they could own free white persons and own slaves, or it would show slaves, but that'd be their family. But they won't list what his color is right here. So it's definitely it's for sure. I've definitely seen black people in this category, and they just don't list them as any race or anything, because they don't list none of these people's race. And I think they did that on purpose. But then you'll see these free white categories, and and like I said, the only way I'll know for this part is that I you might do that yourself. Now that I toss that out there, you might go find you some black folks. I would look at the 1870 census, where after freedom, supposed freedom, right? After freedom happened in 1870, look at that census, find you like several black folks, even probably maybe even your own folks or whatever. Is that Chastain? Is my dude Felonious in here? Is this Chastain as I'm sitting here talking? I'm gonna have to send that to Felonious. Is he in here? Let me see if Felonious in here. Because Felonious, I'm gonna have to send this to him. I don't think he probably not in here this morning. No, he's not in here. He's a Chastain, and I'm just seeing that now. And this is the earliest census they got in Alabama, which would have been Louisiana before, or Indian Territory, so to speak. Really, it would have been West Florida or East Florida. It's been many things. It's been East Florida. It's been Louisiana. It's been Alabama now, Indian Territory. And that's another thing, because that means during that time period, you got four places you got to look for records. You got to look for records in the Indian rolls during those years. You got to look for records within within the Spanish records during those years, the French records during those years, and any U.S. records during those years. It's really a crazy thing. But all right, so just to get back to what we was talking about. So again, the head of families could be said what you're looking at. This is 1820, the 1820 Alabama census, handwritten real early, and that's the first one they did. Said I think they did. Master equals father or mother. Whoever owns the land is the master. Yeah, and I think overseer is going to be like maybe somebody who's there to, like somebody we would call like a house sitter today. Like a house sitter today with somebody who watches over your house is while you go out of town and go do your dues. And you know, back then if you're traveling, it's probably gonna take you a while to travel. I didn't mean to bring somebody up.
Sorry, love.
One
I
of
got
y'all
an
moms must have done that.
Yeah, sorry about that. I
Hold on, I
didn't.
can't hear you. Hold up, let me plug something in. Hold on. All right, but yeah, mine's yeah, we don't want to let people up until possibly the end. But go ahead, Mr. Master, whatever. I don't even want to call it Master, but go
No,
ahead.
no, no. Hey, love and light. No, Master's an old Reiki nickname from 20 years ago. It has to do with energy healing, not anything else. I'm not trying to master anybody else, just my own life. Um, the genealogy that you're finding there, and I apologize for. I thought you wanted me to come up for some reason. I just accepted it. But yeah, the finding the details, you have to be a little bit more of a detective to see. I mean, I've gone back and looked because I wanted to know like where my people were, where my ancestors were in all the situations. So um it's interesting to see the families of the melanated folks close to like living in address sequence close to the people that they were associated with and things like that. So, but anyway, I'll duck back down and let you continue. I'm not trying to butt in or interject. Keep shining your light.
Okay, no problem. You good? You good?
All right.
All right. All right. Hold on, y'all. Let me switch this. All right. Let me let me just do something here. Yeah, I don't know how that would have. You know what? How did this person even get modded? Oh, this. Oh, this is. Ah, I see what's going on here. Keisha Hood Princess must have had her account hacked. Cause I'm showing a user now, whatever, 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 but then it says Keisha the Hood Princess non-moderator. But it doesn't even have an avatar. So y'all niggas really be trying to snake your way in. That's crazy. Hold on, let me remove you. Hold on, y'all. Didn't watch a lot. I don't know who this sovereign citizen. If they don't change their avatar since a certain time and I don't remember, I don't know who they are, I gotta get rid of them. You know, people may hack old accounts or something. Hold on, y'all. People may hack old people's accounts or something and then be going in fucking with people. Like, I can actually see that. That's actually pretty fucking crazy. Hold on, let me just remove some old folks too that ain't really all that. Because yesterday or when I was live stream, my comments turned off out of nowhere, and I'm like, nah, you know, my people who I mod, they fuck with me. They ain't doing no crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? So now this makes sense. Now I only got okay. The people I got in here, I know. Lola, Aura Reed, Red Lion, Regal, Nikki, B for All, Lola, Gia, Monet, Nikki, CR. All right. Sometimes, man, just think about this, y'all. Okay, I just got in. I couldn't see what y'all was saying because I was in that what you call it. Um. But yeah, yeah. Like, okay, I got you. Yeah, and I learned to check neighbors, love your page, and research. Appreciate that. So yeah, like, you got to go back through and check the old folks, um, your accounts from time to time, people's accounts from time to time. People, I think people know that they're trying to literally get into our community to cause havoc. Because you got to think, yeah, I don't really let a bunch of people like that in my life, and I don't mod a bunch of people. So it's almost like somebody watching me, and they're trying to figure out a way to get up in there, or just in our communities, and they go into people's old pages, hacking them old pages, and then using those to just cause random things to happen. And that's crazy. That's crazy. She came up to disrupt. What's up? Make it make sense. Excuse me, y'all. I don't like the cough in y'all ear. Okay, so let's get back to the lesson. Uh, how you talk about, boy? Yeah, it's just what is it traded? Damn, bro, I'm worried for you. Who's Ed Just? Let me see what Ed Just said. Oh, just stopped by. Just stopped by. The amount of random white people I've seen doing research on my family really has me wondering. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, and just period too. Like, there's a lot of them. A lot of people in these universities that are doing these papers and stuff about our people, and some of them live overseas, and some white tea person in Holland doing a paper on slavery times and in the antebellum period, and talking about they got a new fresh take on it. Like, why the hell do you care? What, like, we got a reason to be going through this information because it's our folks, and we trying to validate and understand and tear down lies. They ain't got no good reason to be going through none of this shit. Why the hell they even care about the antebellum period in America and goddamn Holland? These people are crazy. Mm. Uh, when that dude purchased it is repping the tiny hats. Purchased it is repping the tiny hats. All right, so head of household can mean anything. Basically not anything, but it means master and overseer are the terms used for head of families. As you can see, it used to be say head of household, and that's why I think they be changing words because before it would have been a family. So I'm gonna say because even here it says total of each person in the family, right? So even though they call these people slaves, I guess the slaves were part of your family, huh? It's like they wasn't sure, and here it was called free person of color. But and that's been the same thing for a while. But my thing is, I think they just wasn't sure on how they wanted to like manipulate these documents at first. They knew they wanted to make all black people slaves on records. I feel like they knew that, but they didn't know how to really organize this to make it to where they wanted to until like the slave scales were used. This was the start, and then you get the next one, which was still kind of the same thing. Like this one, what's the real one? Not real, but the next year. So this is the other one that you get that comes after that. Now, or this was disseminated in other states who already had census going and they wasn't doing handwritten. This might have been in like the colonies and just hadn't hit Alabama. That's why they wrote theirs. But regardless, even this one says head of families. All right. It's not until and that was a what you call it. It's not until you really get to this. Do they do that? Hold on, let me say. I'm actually kind of curious. 1830 census. Uh, Now I'll show you here. Alabama shows a bunch of counties, but only about 30 counties in 1830. But if we click on one of them, we should be able to get their form. And this might still say head of family. Oh, that's the same one. That's 1830. Okay, let's do. 1840 census. Cause me, I'm real big on changes and why you changed it, and because nobody changes things just haphazardly. Typically, they change it because a reason. Well, let's not call it this. Let's call it that. Why? Well, we got our reasons. It's typically not just for the hell of it. Names of heads of families. I wonder if it was heads of families the whole time. Let me do 1850 census. And then I spelled it sinkers. Stupid ass. I just want to validate this. It may have always said head of families. No, they changed it in 1850. They called it, what did they call it? The name of every person whose usual place of abode is the first on the first day was in the family. They really went weird on that one. Profession, occupation. This is the free inhabitants enumerated page, and the name of every person whose usual place of abode. But it typically says family still. To be honest, I thought at one point it said household or something. That's what I was looking for, household, which would have been very similar. But if it said household, people can still say, well, that means plantation. That doesn't mean those people were family. Blah 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 blah. Right? But it literally says family. So uh, that regardless of that ain't really my main topic with it. My main thing today is going to be explaining these numbers. So again, we don't really have, or I'll go back here real quick just to recap, recapitulate. I didn't know recapitulate, the word recap was a shortening of the word recapitulate till today. To be honest with you, like I've been looking at this word recapitulation, I would hear it all the time, and I would read it, and I was like, "What the hell, recapitulation?" One day I looked it up, and I still didn't really put the two and two together, and I remember thinking about it. But as I was looking at one of these documents, it was like, "Hey, the data here is a recapitulation of the data or whatever." And I was like, recapitulation. And I looked it up. I said, oh, fuck, recap. I was like, how come I didn't know the word recap was short for you? Said me either. How come I know the word was short for recapitulation. That's crazy, man. My grandfather essentially says head of household. Okay, so I figured that there was one. hmm, I figured, and maybe I had to, because I was looking at the Alabama ones. Maybe it was head of household in a different state. Or maybe it came about at us after 1850 or 60 or something. Head of household equals person responsible for the household. It do look it do look in 1921. There you go. Okay, okay. So they changed it, and they changed it quite a bit later. Even the mafia got their sauce from us, head of the families. Yeah. I didn't think about that. Except for confusion. Yep. Recap. Yeah. All mine say head of household, and we're from Alabama. Now you make me think, because like, and maybe certain counties I'm clicking on, certain people have certain forms different. But I was about to say, because somebody told me that they filled out one form when they saw you and filled out something else on the back end, changed it up. But you never know, man. These people be playing games. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just trying to use the clues that they did leave to catch them in their little bullshit lies. To be honest with you, because there's, even though I'm catching them in these lies, these are just like, in my opinion, these are just surface level lies. Appreciate that, Cookie. How you doing? These are just surface level lies, and the reason why I say that, mine is Lawrence County, Butler, Montgomery. Let me get this person trying to play a game off of here. Montgomery, Butler, Luns. Let me look at one in, but it probably still came up later. I was about to say, let me look at one in that county, Luns County in 1850. This would be one from Lawrence County in 1850. 1850 still shows head of family at least, but 1850. So 1860, 70 or further out probably is going to be the other one, or they done switched the shit out. Great class. Appreciate that, Baldwin. Is Baldwin where you from, Ebony? Is that a county? Yep, Baldwin County. Several districts. Yeah, we're looking at the same form on all of them. But there is some names in there for you, you know. Uh, a lot of these same documents you'll get through Ancestry.com or Family Tree and stuff like that. So you really don't have to go through like just looking at random documents and all that stuff. Yeah. So I went through Arkansas census because I'm from there and I had weird things going on with race. Yeah, you gotta really get up in there deep. So Ebony said her family also from McGee and Baldwin and all that. Y'all some Alabamians. Same here. Same here to a degree. My family don't remember probably being in Alabama, to be honest with you. If I was to ask them questions, because they've been in Oklahoma so long, for so many generations. It was around 1830, really around the 1830 removal, is when all my family members went to Oklahoma, and they've been there since. So I don't think any of them probably remember. But I bet you somebody might know that we got family still tied to those areas. Okay, so back to the main lesson though. So we know that we don't see a drop in an area of people and a increase where the increases happen in Alabama. So we know there's no transfers for black folks. Now I wanted to try to find out, is there a transfer for the white folks of whatever? So again, I was going through the census forms between each one of these years to try to get that. And that's still going to take me some more time. It does show random like jumps, like white folks damn near have quite a bit. Let me see. I think I had pulled up a couple of results. Okay, in 1820, Alabama, right here, Alabama, 17,000. So I'd have to add up each one of these. And I think when I kind of visually added up each one of these going across, all the way to here, excuse me, need to get some water. But going all the way across, it roughly looked to about 90,000 to 100,000 free white persons in 1810 or 1820. And then when you look at 1830, I believe this is, all of a sudden you got 191,000 whites, 117,000 blacks. Now think about this. And some of this is there. Some of these are the free black people, but it wasn't that many free black people in Alabama to really say it's a lot. By the end of 1850, it said it was a total of 548 or something like that free black people out of damn near 300,000 at that time. But what I'm noticing with these numbers, this is what I'm thinking. You don't just randomly flood a couple 100,000 people, and first of all, a couple 100,000 people were not existing in Alabama 20 years before this. First of all, they didn't even start really getting there until about 1818. Okay, it was Indian territory. If there was any white folks there, they would have been French or Spaniards, and they didn't have a ton of them people here either. Let's just to validate that, because I say that, but you know me, I hate to say things that I've never looked up, because people do that all the time, especially on these debates. You know that all they were smuggling ships all throughout here. I was on a debate yesterday. Hold on, let me see. What was the total population of the French colonial period in America? for French people, of French people. If I worded that right. It says the total French population in North America. So this would be the total, not just in Alabama. This would be throughout wherever they was throughout. Was significantly smaller than the British population, roughly 60,000 to 80,000 by the at the end of the period of 1763. And I'd have to go double check this. With most settlers concentrated along the St. Lawrence River. What's the St. Lawrence River? Where's the St. Lawrence River? Some of y'all probably know. It's not in Alabama. Let's just say it right there. Most of your French was up here, guys. Cause that's gonna be the first thing motherfuckers is gonna say. You know all them French was down there. And all them Spaniards. Now we're gonna look up how many Spaniards that they got on a rough, quick thing, okay? So let's see that they're not making up that number, okay? I love to look things up. Cause people just talk out of their ass, and I almost talked out of my ass, right? You know there was some French down there. I be guilty of the same shit, and I gotta sometimes smack my dumb ass. I said during the French period, during the Spanish. Let me take that Spanish colonial period in America. How many Spanish people? Yeah. It says an estimated 1.86 million Spaniards settled in America during the colonial period, 1492. Where do you get that number from? And I'm gonna tell you why I say that. But hold on. This number is comprised of approximately 250,000 in the 16th century. Yeah, right. And more in the 18th century as immigration increased used under the Bourbon dynasty. 250,000 Spaniards, 18th total colonial period. I don't know where the hell they must have pulled that number from some random ass site. That's what Wikipedia says. Okay. Who else says something like that? Numerous, because the reason why I'm saying this, you don't count no Mexicans in any census until damn near 1920. Okay, now not to say that some Spaniard looking folks may not have been here. I've seen a few, but you don't have tons of Spanish names on the motherfucker either. I ain't seen 250,000 Spanish names on the motherfucking census forms. These niggas be lying. And especially 1.86 million. These niggas is somebody's lying like a motherfucker on this Wikipedia, man. Oh, they talk about to the Americas. Okay. Well, when you say the Americas, I'm just not catching that. When you say the Americas, now you're talking about. So let me be more specific. Yeah, I hate using until the 1900s. Are they including Mexicans? So you caught that before I did, Cookie. Asked it if they were converts or religion. How? Yeah, exactly. Now we all see it. Some of y'all we all see it now. So let me do uh, North. I don't even want to say North America. Let me say U.S. What was the total population of the Spanish colonial period in the U.S. of Spanish people? Okay, let's see what it says here. All right, so now it's stuck to the 250 to 400,000, which is absurd. But don't get me wrong, some of them people probably converted over to being YT, but then you got to be like, how YT did they look? Or also, let me not say that. Let me not forget, some of these could be melanated Spaniards. All right, they now living amongst us, and they done. And I don't want to say that either. I hate when people say, "Oh, we mixed in together." I don't know if anybody had babies with these folks, except for one person. I know one person that had a baby with a Spaniard, and she looked like a Spaniard in the 1700s. But but either way, they say about 150,000, and that's across the Spaniard. But even then, even if you go with that, that's not going to make up this number here for Alabama, because Alabama was just a small part of Spanish America. You got to put that. You got to stretch that 150,000 across Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, part of motherfucking little clip of Georgia, right? So when you really do that, maybe you let's see, even if you had a high concentration right here or something, you probably still wouldn't have enough to get that number, obviously. So I'm not going to say that this is full of Spaniards. So these are free white persons, okay? So that's the main thing I'm just trying to break down, that this number has to be free white persons coming in from somewhere else. They weren't just living there before. They didn't start getting there to 1818. And I'm just basically shutting down any kind of argument in between. So now we have to look at something here. Yeah, they were black white. Didn't a lot of them pay their way onto the Dogs Roads too? Yeah, I can show you that real fast. Technically, in a sense, they are the same from Europe. I could be wrong. Yeah, in a sense, they are, but they do phenotypically look differently. Like a white Spaniard, and I'll show you that too. Let's say people from Spain will look kind of like this, right? Your little Mila Kunis looking motherfuckers, right? Uh, and then you look at, let's say, people from Holland. They're the same, but they different, right? They the same, but they different. Whoops, hold up. We go here. They the same, but they are different. And then you got those that can be damn near close to each other sometimes, but they gonna have a different, like there's in their phenotype, their faces are a little bit more scrunched together. It's kind of hard to, sometimes it's hard to verbally say what you see that's different between some of these folks. Right? Sometimes it's hard. See, these might be like she almost looks like one of your little British people. Not that'd be Australian. I almost look like your little YT Australian. You know what I'm saying? And British. And well, that makes sense because the British took over Australia. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like these people definitely have a difference. Like these are not necessarily Spaniards. Now, they can somewhat pretend to be a Spaniard, but you would question it. But these people, if they threw a sombrero on, you wouldn't think much about it, right? You'd be like, oh yeah, yeah. What's happening, Chalupe guy? You got your question. Well, that's just a random thing. And also, these aren't the indigenous people. These are your YT versions, right? Or well, yeah, because the indigenous people up there would have been black folks, right? Talking them through their teeth. British definitely, yeah. Them teeth, them British teeth give it away. We thought we had Native American, but we had way more Middle Eastern. Oh damn. If they could pass as white, they did for protection. That was my family situation. Today we believe the percentage of white black folks. These folks allow 9-2 ID and white, yeah. Yeah, and it's so they all check white. Yeah, not a sombrero. They all check the same box, and that is true. And that's another way they playing them games with these groups, and also to show how they pay $5 to get in, the Indians. So I found this, and the census is really kicking everybody's ass right now. To be honest with you, because I use these census forms. I be with census forums and manifest records, like actual real documents, is whooping people's ass in debates because they can't explain these numbers. And the numbers were correct. Well, correct to a degree. I will say correct to a degree, right? You know, ain't no telling how much craziness and whatever. But in here, I found where the page at? Oh, it must be up here. My bad. I found this right here in the census for the aggregated for the Indians. So think about this. They have an aggregated census form for some of the years done for well no. You know what? I take that back. I take that back. I take that back. This is just a 1 year census. This is like the 1890 or 1900 census. I think it's 1890. Or whatever. So let me just not say that. But okay. So what I want you to do is first of all, you can take your screenshot. But look at this. 5 civilized tribes. Total number of people in the tribes at the time. Male, female. Indians. How many Indians do they have? Which at this time I believe are a mixture of Siberians, if not fully Siberians, and a mixture of Siberians, possibly some Spaniards faking the funk. And I say that because the Seminoles are in there. And you might even have some mixed breeds up in here. Might. Now they really supposed to go over here, but you might have that. But what you have here is only a total of 50,000 of them together. Okay, 50,000 Indians, right? How many Indians with Negro descent? Well, they said they counted close to 19,000. Okay, all right. 50,000, 19,000. And what that means is if these people made it with these people, which that ain't the case, because that's the case they want to go with, right? The only reason why there's 18,000 of y'all black people they can even claim this is because y'all done mixed in over here, right? Well, at least you can say, okay, if you want to say 18,000 people you had gotten with these people, or half of these people got with these people to produce these people, the numbers could match up. But you know what number does not match up? Whites. How can you have 109,000 white people and 50,000 Indians? As Indians. How many white people as Indians? Notice it says claimants, people that claim it, right? It didn't say Indian claimants, right? They did say that under the black folks too, playing games, right? But 109,000. Now this number gets more absurd because that means one, you can't mix. How did you mix with less than 50,000 people to make 109,000 white Indians? But it gets more absurd when you look at this. Let's look at the. Oh yeah. When you look at the numbers for the Chickasaw tribe, 48,000 white people, right? About 5,000 Indians, 3,900, 1,282. How can 5,000 Indians mate with almost 40,000 some odd white folks? 20,000, 30,000. Was they popping out babies and gang doing it crazy without the saying the worst words? What kind of shit is that? On top of that, this is the Chickasaw tribe. You can't say that these people intermarried. How does 48,000 people intermarry 5,000 Indians? Had to be a whole lot of polygamy going on, right? So you can't say they intermarried into the tribe. That's impossible. But on top of that, this is the Chickasaw tribe. Why is that important? Well, do I have that right here? You know, I'd rather show you before I tell you. Hold up. I hate when I put a little gap and pause in between. But why is it absurd that the Chickasaws should have that many white people in their tribe. Why would that be absurd to me? Besides the numbers being completely absurd. Uh, it's this one right here. Well, in 1900, in the newspapers, they were talking about intermarriage with whites and Indians. Now, all of these clippings are about the same topic. They had been saying this from 1816, from 1700. Where my 1700 one at? 1816. Where my 1700 one at? It's somewhere in this bitch. But ever since the 1700s, they've been saying, hey, get you an Indian, get you an Indian, get you an Indian. Well, what I thought was very telling was in this article right here. It says the Chickasaws are very much so opposed to white men marrying into their tribe. But the other tribes are okay with it. So, how does a tribe who really hates the idea that their tribe, any of their tribal members would marry into a white race, to a white person, how does a tribe like that end up with 48,000, the bulk, of white people coming into their tribe? They say they was pale because they said they're Indian at the time. What's up, Meta? What's up, Nikki? Exactly. Now we have excuse me. Now we have numbers to prove it. Mixing was a big mistake. I don't even think we did much mixing. I really think I think we did minimal mixing, and it was really more so they came in, took out the tribe, took the women and the children, the few that they had left, right? The few that they had left. The, yeah, I was about to say, is that an 8? That might be an 8, or is that a 3? Either way, that would be 10,000 or 5,000. Either way, they making up that 48,000. Either way, but they unalive a much of the men in the tribe, which that I got clips of people start talking about that. You take the women and the children, all fake to be these kids, overseers or slave owners, or basically, what do you call it, guardian today. That word wasn't used back then. No, I didn't see it. You claim to be these people's guardians, but you claim them to be your slaves on paperwork, and as they grow up, you've already unalived most of the adults. As the kids grow up, you teach them that they're just Christian black Negroes. They didn't, and you teach them that in Indian boarding schools. There were black Indian freedmen boarding schools. And so you teach them that, but in those schools, they weren't taught that they was African. Otherwise, your grandma would have said she was African. But in many cases, people lost their memory of that unless they didn't go through this situation. Some people stayed on their land, family remembers who they was, and they passed it down for generations. Some people got it wiped out through situations like this, like some of my family members. Some of my family members, not all of them. Excuse me. That's a 3. They said that's a 3. That's what I'm thinking too. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm about to look around for another similar 3 on this page. I can see the 8, and the 8s clearly look like 8s. For some reason, I don't see no damn 3. Yeah, for some reason, I don't see another damn 3 to compare it to. I believe it's a 3. Oh, here's one. Yeah, it's hard to say, but it's probably a 3 because the 8 looks definitely like an 8. It's like all the way blocked out, and even that 8 looks like an 8, and this 3 definitely looks like it's missing the gap. So yeah, I believe that's a 3. So yeah, about 5,000 people. And think about this. Look at these tribes. These tribes ain't got much either. And how many white people was in that? 8,000. And think about that. The Seminole tribe. The Seminole tribe is the only one that didn't have a lot of white folks. You know why? Because they was whooping y'all motherfucking ass. Okay? Seminoles was beating the shit out of y'all. That's why y'all couldn't claim that tribe, nigga. I don't want to claim that one over there. We let them Spaniards keep claiming it, and they can kind of shoot their way in. But we gonna get in with these Chickasaws, Choctaws, Cherokees, right? And that's what you always hear them say. My mom was Cherokee or Chickasaw, whatever the case. But this document right here proves it. This one document proves they lying. Same way I'm trying to get their ass with these current census forms today, trying to get their ass and figure out where things happen. So now we're gonna get back to that part of the lesson. So we're trying to make up, where did these black white folks come from? How did you get 200,000 white people to Alabama so fast within 10 years? And if they didn't get transferred from another state, which I have to go through, obviously there will be some transfers. But do I see rises in numbers, or do I see some drops in numbers? Because during westward expansion, you would be thinking that out of the people, what was the total? Let me see. What was the total number of white people in the United States by 1803? That's before the Louisiana Purchase. 1800 census recorded 4.3 million. 1810 census recorded 5.8 million. So they gained a damn million point two in by 1810. And I bet I really wish it would have given me the next number after that. But so basically what I'm gonna get at is by 1803, by the 1803 or 1817 coming to Alabama, I should see, and I should see not only from the Alabama numbers, also the Mississippi numbers, Louisiana, all that. I should see at least about a 500,000 drop in numbers from other states going as they expand. Now, will I see that, or will I just see expansion? It's going to be kind of hard because they also have a ton of expansion happening during that time. But that's why I started this live stream, because the other day, literally 2 or 3 days ago, I was randomly clicking on stuff, and I wasn't even trying to click on this, but I clicked on it in the National Archive records at the time. And I forgot what I was looking up, whatever. Now, I think I might have been on the live stream when I did it, to be honest with you, if I'm not mistaken. But I know I just wasn't trying to do it. And when I saw it, I was like, you know what? Let me save this. I don't, something about vessels. It's got 900 some pages. And then when I looked over here, let me open it up in Adobe because it be shut down. So when I looked over here, this page is what made me want to save it. As you can see, the district, I said, oh, that looks pretty damn official. You know what I'm saying? And you're talking about vessels coming in from Germany, and everybody's headed to the US of A. Okay? All coming in between 1820 to 1890 something. Now that's a large amount of people. First of all, this is going to be a large amount of people. There's 900 some, almost 1,000 pages, and look how many lines per page. Now there might be some pages that don't have vessels, but just look how many people per fucking page, right? Some pages that aren't correct. See, and then you got something like this, but then you have the next boat full of folks, okay? I mean, full. And I don't know if that was one boat or multiple boats. I gotta go look at that, but full. Where are these people? Why are these people coming here at this time? Coming from port embarkation at Liverpool. Where's Liverpool? Somewhere in Europe. Let me do this. Liverpool in the UK. Let's pull out. They was bringing their dusty ass from right there. Now, that's at least where they embarked from. They could have came from any one of these places. And they're going to say some came from Germany, some show coming from Holland. And they're really, damn. I gotta show y'all something after I find it out. Watch. Let's see. That's crazy. Why did it flip? Well, that's whack. All right. Sweden, Norway, Russia, France a little bit, Russia, Poland, Germany, and they have their names listed. So these people can't lie and be like, oh, I don't know. Coming all from Sweden, England, Germany, whatever that is, England, Germany. But there is tons of people. Now I'm gonna tell y'all what this does. Besides the fact that they're flooding us, I think they've been flooding us this whole time. There was something that somebody had said that it was like a Black Indian chief. I can't remember what. I'm trying to think in my head. I think it might have been Chief Warhorse talking about her ancestors, but saying that they just kept coming and coming. They just more and more white folks just kept coming and coming. And just think about it. You see them flooding in, but you only see them flooding in on your land from a certain perspective. We may not have had communications in Alabama per se with niggas in New York and niggas letting us know in New York, man, they flooding us over here. You know what I'm saying? And they getting flooded somewhere else. Oh, you flooding us over here, and they flooding us. Oh man, we need to stop this, right? We don't really think about the gravity of all these people flooding in. Now, what does this do as these people flood in? Are they fighting us as they flood in? A little bit. They were fighting, but in many cases, these people were just settling. You don't bring a bunch of dusty people over here and they gonna fight, right? They were scared. They leaving. I'm gonna tell you what I think happened. So, what am I looking for? Oh yeah. Not to mention, some of them people could have coming in on them boats. I really need to look to see if I find people coming from Siberia and shit. But okay. So, let me tell you what I'm thinking. In fact, is that, and let me pull up this here. We're looking at Alabama. Alabama, right? 1820 or 30. I think it's 1830. By 1830, you almost are outnumbering the black people in a certain amount of counties. These black people were already here. We've established that. It's whatever, right? You flooded in 200,000, right? What is that doing? Is that allowing them to beat us up? Or is it just allowing them looking for the Alabama one? My bad. Which one is it? That's from the pig. Oh, it's up here. Or does that just allow them to start outvoting us and getting us out of power? Does that just allow them to outvote us to try to get us out of power? We shouldn't have even let them played a game within our Congress in the first place just because they were settling on our land. But there's a reason why the Congresses look like this in each of those states well before they started getting all the white folks in there. Look at all them black faces. Look at all these black folks in Mississippi. And then we start letting in Indian looking folks like that. You can tell by that goddamn hairline. You better get your ass out of here. Who knew East Indian motherfuckers with horrible hairlines was, in this bitch? But okay. You start letting them in our old world buildings that have been here for ages, right? That we controlled, right? That we was already in, right? That we were depicted being like Roman, like Indians by the motherfucking Germans and they fucking portraits and sculptures. And then we have these Roman like motherfucking buildings here too. And we have power. Ain't that funny? I don't know how that just all of a sudden correlates. But we let these people start coming in. And they wasn't beating us anywhere but in the polls. And we was probably one of the, you know how we are. We fair niggas. Well, y'all live here, okay? And I guess y'all can play in on the process, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I guess. And oh, you sure? You sure we can? You sure we can play? You sure? Yeah. I guess y'all can play on. Wait a minute. Y'all brought 200,000 motherfuckers in this bitch. Yeah. We just settling. Wait. Nigga, hold up. Y'all gonna vote us out this bitch? Yeah. We just settling. That's it. Just settling. Yeah. It's just part of settling. Wait a minute, nigga. We let y'all stay on the land. What you mean? Settling, nigga. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? We're just gonna bring a few more in on these boats. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, when they say they came in on boats, they really did come in on boats. Or when we say they came in on boats, they really did come in on boats. They've been, because look, and all they did was outvote us in each of the states, each county, take over power, start writing laws, take over power, start writing laws, start doing paperwork censuses, calling you a slave. Because now they have power, but okay. But, damn, that was something I was going to say. I don't think it was going to be on this. My bad, let me look down. Yeah, all the westerns I watch daily that they created tell the sabotage against the original people. Yeah, for real. And also look at this too. I just thought about this. On top of that, after y'all flood a bunch of I know what I was gonna do now. I know. After y'all flood a bunch of people here, you start setting every place on fire. Courthouse fires, and that's just the courthouses. You start setting courthouses on fire. Why would you do that? Destroy all the information that was there about who was there prior, right? Yeah. Flood your people in, change the history up, write new laws, call these niggas slaves. All right. Let me go to whatever. So I know I was going to that document. So you have a wave of people coming in between 1820 to 1897. You also have 12 million people that come in between 1895 to 19, whatever the fuck, with Ellis Island. But prior to 1820, you also had a flood of people coming in through the Revolutionary War, 1776 time frame until whatever the fuck, right? My point is, they've been flooding people here the entire time. Still doing it today. Bringing over immigrants like they did just not that long ago. Recently, now Trump is in office. That shit's kind of, whatever. But Biden's shit, you know what I'm saying, during his shit, and then all the motherfucking Mexicans coming up in this hole, that millions. and it's flood. And what do they do? What do they say that their numbers are doing when they flood in the Mexicans? They're trying to flood in the Mexicans so they can vote for Democrats and vote us out of office. Oh, y'all been doing the same thing, huh? You're flooding in people to vote them out of office. Who else knows this? Who? Not necessarily. I'm pretty sure y'all know. There's some people out here that know this shit, man. This is crazy. I'm just trying to say, like who got the? Well, where is these kind of perspectives on what really happened? Which this is like what they don't want you to know. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, the flooding of the people in order to outvote people, not for the wars. And when now it makes sense when motherfucking Copper Empress, when she would say Copper Cutie, when she would say the Civil War was fought in the court system. You flood a bunch of people over here, you outvote everybody, take the land, whatever the case, force people off the land, or they're still on the land, but force them to start paying taxes, or put lords over them, meaning like you institute state taxes on land, but you don't tell the black folks. And while the black folks sitting there owing taxes, because I've heard this from many people, the next thing you know, they owe taxes and you're about to seize their land. Somebody comes in, buys the state tax land through a state tax sale, buys the land through a state tax sale, comes to the land, looks at you and say, this is my shit. You like, nigga, this is my shit, but they got the paper, you can't fight it, and eventually they say, but I'm gonna be a nice man and I'm gonna let you stay here and just give me some of your crop or pay me some rent. And now they've usurped the land from you, right? After they've usurped it first from the Indians through treaties, paying niggas pennies on the dollar, as we looked at yesterday, right? For some of the lands, niggas damn near just getting a stimulus check for their fucking land and having to move. And then you institute all this other shit. But some people are allowed to stay at the same time. But then you swindle their properties from them over time as you flood people in this hole. And just think about it. The people who still have land, some of us that still have land, have been holding that shit from these bitch ass niggas since back then. That's strong. That's saying, bitch, you ain't never get my shit. And if you ever try to fucking get it, that's why they got to do shit like this. This is good for y'all to watch. We ain't gonna watch the whole thing, but this is from Showtime. Let me see if there's a smaller version. No, we'll do this one.
There are a lot of great $600,000, $1 million, $2 million homes.
Your biggest decision is, do I want to go to the beach or the pool, and what am I going to grill for dinner? South Carolina, Hilton
Geechee area.
Head. What's going on there?
People with families, everybody loves Hilton Head.
One of the best ways for an American family to create intergenerational wealth is to own.
If you still got land in Geechee area, you've been holding your land since the goddamn Spaniards came in this bitch. That's how strong you is.
Some land. It's in high demand and they don't make it anymore. I'm standing on the beach of the beautiful island of Hilton Head, South Carolina, where after the Civil War, black people own most of this. But over the decade,
and before it too, nigga,
the land was lost. And to this day, we got black folks that are still fighting to keep their little piece of the American dream. By 1910, African Americans owned around 16 million acres of land, much of it acquired through purchases and homesteading. But after years of violence, intimidation, and legal trickery, most of it was taken. Texas A&M law professor Thomas Mitchell has been tracking that loss for 2 decades.
Historically, if we're talking about African
he don't care that much. Nigga ain't made no waves.
Americans, despite this incredible acquisition of land after the Civil War, most of that property was not considered prime real estate. For example, Hilton Head, South Carolina. Until 1950, Hilton Head was remote. There wasn't a bridge from the South Carolina mainland out to Hilton Head Island, and the island was owned by majority African Americans.
Right.
What does South Carolina do? They build a bridge real estate developers realized.
And don't forget, I didn't even think about all the guy that you put yourself in office, and then you start eminent domain all over the place. See, I'm gonna break this shit all down one day on a motherfucking documentary.
Oh, there's a great economic opportunity, and they have the visions of what has become Hilton Head.
The indigo, rice, and long staple cotton of the past have given way to the golf, tennis, and swimming of today's leisure society.
They started buying out individual families, and there's hardly any black landowners left. And what's just happened as our society has...
Yeah, I'm saying exactly on both of y'all. Yeah, they all working together to take the land. And then, and yeah, definitely, American Indians, they lying. What's up, Nikki? Why would they bring African American on the majority of the land? Exactly. They are shoehorning it all in. You know how they do. Calling us an adjective. Now they say black. Just going back and forth with it. They don't know they don't know who the hell. They know what they doing.
Advanced areas that were once considered the backwaters no longer are the backwaters.
We're on a mission right now to get this tangerine. The vulnerability of black land isn't limited to the coastlines. It's widespread throughout the United States, even in my hometown of Tallahassee. Sandra Thompson learned just how hard it can be to maintain possession of land that developers want to get their hands on. I remember growing up in Tallahassee. This was the sticks. I went to school with people that lived out here. We'd be like, you live in the boonies, in the boondocks.
It's actually now zoned urban fringe.
Urban fringe.
Urban fringe.
People tried to buy it.
All the time.
Sandra's family were sharecroppers on this land. Her grandparents bought it in 1946 using money their son made serving in the military. But their will didn't clearly identify a single person who would inherit and manage the property.
When my grandmother passed away, it was left equally to her descendants. So that essentially created heirs property.
Heirs property. On the most basic level, what is it?
Heirs property is communal type property where your ancestors would have purchased the land, and once they passed away, it transfers to the next generation and their descendants. It's fractional ownership.
And I wasn't going to play this whole thing. It's 20 minutes, but I'm going to play it because I think this is pretty important. Because I haven't watched it in a long time, but I do remember we're going to see the corruption that happens in today's time. And we're going to see how much they know about this.
A property that could be owned by 200 people. Operation is communal type property where your ancestors would have purchased the land, and once they passed away, it transfers to the next generation and their descendants. It's fractional ownership. A property that could be owned by 200 people. Any one of those heirs could sell their percentage. That new owner can go to the court and say, well, we can't agree on how to manage this land.
And force the rest of the folk to sell it, even if they don't want to?
Yes. And so it was essential for us to move it out of heirs property status. And that process costs from probate to title clearing close to about $10,000.
Now, first of all, I just think about this. Now I'm really seeing, what's up, Poppy? Now I'm really seeing the trickery. Because think about this. I'm listening to them close. She says she was forced to move it out of heirs property into some other type of status. Think about the ramifications of taking away a patent and heirs property, a patented heirs property, just because you're trying to alleviate fraud, right? Now you're giving up you're giving up the status of being able to keep this as an heirs property over the course of forever into something else because you're trying to protect yourself. Because what they said, why are they protecting themselves? Because with heirs property, if a white person knows that if they know that this land is owned by heirs property, they'll start going around to each one of your family members to try to offer them to sell. And typically, sometimes you might find a nigga in your family who's down and out. There's always one of them, right? And the motherfucker's like, what? He didn't even know he was heir to the shit. And he found out he heir to the shit. He said, "Man, I'll give you 10,000 for your little shirt, man." And he may not tell them that they ain't gonna tell him. The white dude ain't gonna tell you that if you sell your share, I can now be part of this heir property and force everybody to sell. You know what I'm saying? And it's a real fucked up thing. But this is what they're doing. Let me keep going.
So you own the land, but then you had to pay $10,000 to own the land again?
Exactly. Because of the cost. A lot of families don't clear title to their property. And so then it keeps them in a vulnerable economic risk position.
African Americans disproportionately own heirs property that every lawyer who was knowledgeable about this ownership form would tell them, run away. Do not ever own it under this structure.
Listen to the messages, because Vice News is a propagandist motherfucking outlet. So first of all, let's just throw this out there. They're almost promoting you to get rid of your heirs property status. Right here, he just said that, what did you say? Hold on. Oh, he said that most black people have it.
Own heirs property that every lawyer who was knowledgeable about this ownership form would tell them, run away.
Okay, so he said black people own airship property the most, like the talking point we've been pulling up to you, right? He said everybody that knows about heirs properties would tell you that you want to hurry up and get that out of there. You don't want to be that. You don't want that. Well, why wouldn't they want that, Mr. Sir? Why wouldn't they want patent land that they can hold forever? As long as they can stay on code with one another as a family and understand the ramifications of the sale, then they could just hold together as families and be like, all right, yeah, nigga, we'll never sell this. And fuck y'all. And fuck you. They trying to swing. So you gotta watch Vice, because Vice got me in the beginning. When Vice first came out, I was like, this was like 15 years ago, 10, 12, 15 years ago. It was a long time ago. When they first came out, it seemed like this hard-hitting, in-your-face, they was in the action of the wars, kind of documentarian kind of shit. And I was like, oh, damn, this shit is hidden. And then over time, when I started learning things that was happening in foreign places from other documentaries, through other real people who actually dig deep on the stories, then I started to see how corrupt Vice really is. They use real good tactics, real good theatrics. They sound like they really mean well, but it is always an ulterior motive, because the wars that happened between up there in the Ukraine, if you look at what Vice was doing and who they was on the side of the Ukrainians, which were the side of the Nazis, which were the people who weren't supposed to be there. It's a whole other thing, right? But they were on the side of them, and they were trying to put the story in a good light for the Ukrainians. But if you really know the story, it's another thing. But anyway, let's get off of that, because that's foreign relations.
Do not ever own it under this structure. And so you're having every lawyer who was knowledgeable about this ownership form would tell them, run away. Do not ever own it under this structure. And so you're having a population sitting in this very...
Hold on, y'all.
In a vulnerable economic...
I got to screen record that part. That's got to be a video for later. Hold up. Yeah, I got to explain. That nigga bullshitting right now. Hold up.
A lot of families don't clear title to their property. And so then it keeps them in a vulnerable economic risk position.
African Americans disproportionately own heirs property that every lawyer who was knowledgeable about this ownership form would tell them, run away. Do not ever own it under this structure. And so you're having a population sitting in this very vulnerable way, and oftentimes in a way that they don't understand how the law operates.
And you trying to twist it.
Until a lawsuit is filed.
And you trying to twist it.
Been in our family for at least 125 years. Started with my great-grandfather. The land is for me, a lot of memories.
You said back it up, sir. You talking about, yeah, run away. Yeah, no, that's what he said. He said run away. So earlier you said you needed his number. No, you don't want his number. You don't want his number at all. He gonna try to make you get that shit out of air status and tell you that it's a bad thing to have so you can avoid fraud. Instead of telling you, as long as you can just know that there's this fraud that happens that you shouldn't, give into, then you're good. You'll have this land forever. Now, would you rather have land forever and give it to your heirs forever, ever, 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 like, Andre 3000? Or what, he the one that said that? Yeah. Or would you rather not have that protection? And I don't even know what the other alternative is. Once you're not an heir's property, they haven't really even said what the alternative. It'll get it out of that status, but what's the new status? You know what I'm saying? So hopefully they say.
To my roots. I was proud of the name Lewis.
Exactly.
But to have something. And I guess say we lost it.
The Lewis family owned 480 acres of land and a homestead in northern Louisiana. Because the land was heirs' property, several distant family members were able to sell their share of it to a local timber developer named James Tuggle.
Hold on, my bad.
Tuggle 80 acres of land and a homestead.
I guess say we lost it.
The Lewis family owned 480 acres of land and a homestead in northern Louisiana. Because the land was heirs' property, several distant family members were able to sell their share of it to a local timber developer named James Tuggle.
So think about this, because they talk quickly. Now you don't just have your regular Joe Schmo white guy out here going around trying to get your heirs property. You got corporations with lawyers who are trying to get your property for timber, coal, gas, whatever the fuck. So when they come up to one of your folks, it could be kind of hard, right? But we just got to know about that, because if those people should have said, well, wait a minute, if the timber's worth that much, that means this land is worth a whole lot. Let me go consult my folks, right? Well, let's keep going.
Tuggle forced the sale of the land that happened last year.
My great-great-grandfather raised 13 kids where that house sits. I mean, there are so many heirs tied into the Lewis properties. It'll make your head spin. Taxes were always paid on time. We were under the impression that could no one person from the family just up and sell any part of the property without anyone being notified.
Do you all know the relatives that sold their part?
I've only seen one.
They ain't even got to notify you either. They go to somebody, trick them, excuse me, trick them, pay them. Identity theft. I've seen that. I've seen. I think I might have it saved somewhere, where a lady more recently was talking about how some developers, took her property. I might have it saved. We might watch that right after. It was on like a quick little news clip, but some developers. House developers, and she just had a little small acre, a little house acre from her mom had left her. But still, a developer had fucking enforced her signature, sold it to each other for like $1 or something like that, and whatever. And she was able to get that back. But by the time she got it back, they had already built the house and was trying to sell it. So now she got the house and the land, and they mad than a bitch. Mad than a bitch.
You in New York, wherever, going on with your life, you don't really know nothing about. It's a little country spot right here. You don't know nothing about this here.
As part of the legal process, the forced sale of heirs' property has to be publicly announced. In the Lewis's situation, a local newspaper posted a notice in the weeks leading up to the auction.
That kind of gives me an idea. We really should search the papers for keywords for heirs' property being publicized back then. But that's if there was a law back then too. But that would be curious. I'd be curious to see how many newspaper clippings will pop up with this type of shit.
It's a small town. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is not like the Washington Post, New York Journal, or whatever, There's no paper out here in the country that's being delivered to the doorstep. Ain't no ball riding no bicycle throwing no paper on the front porch down here.
And I think about this too. When you type in heirs property, let's just say land laws. Let me take the word black off. See if I'm tripping. Most of these are likely going to be about black folks. I'm just thinking about that in my head. And you got to think about it. What is the reason white people don't have heirs property? If they don't. I don't know if they don't or not 100%. Is it only because they are trying to avoid fraud? You're right. You're right. But I would like to look at these to see if I can find white people that do. But it is a lot of black things going on right here when you search this. Let's just Google that. Heirs property land laws. Let's just Google that. Like, how come there ain't a bunch of white testimonies? Yeah, that fucking cousin of mine fucking drinking beers and all this other shit. He done sold our fucking shit. I ain't never heard it. Never heard it. And there's many of y'all out here, okay? And y'all got money to buy it. That don't make no sense. Y'all ain't, because they came over out of caves, because they're not from here. Think about it, because they're not sovereign, because they're not real Americans, because they're not, I won't even say sovereign, that word can be a little pseudo, or not really pseudo, but But they're not the original people of the land. Could it be that? Because why wouldn't you? If they don't, I have to do more research. Well, look at that. I just put heirs property land laws. How heirs property is affected in black land ownership. What is the heir property? A huge contributor to black blah. Heirs property and generational land laws. I'm pretty sure the word black is going to be in there somewhere. What you need to know about heirs property. Let's see if it's talking about black over here. This is a government one. Heirs blah 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 blah. Heirs property land owned in the commons by the heirs, regardless whether they live, land, blah, blah, blah. Things you should know: when landholders dies without a will, the state decides who inherits the property, right? Heirs property is the leading cause of black involuntary land loss. Yeah, you gotta throw us in there, huh? As you talk about it, because you damn sure ain't. And what states is happening in? Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Texas, North Carolina, Virginia, Florida, Louisiana. Huh. That seems pretty south. You know what I'm saying? Seems pretty damn south. But okay, all right. Boy, like all the shit is there. All the proof is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like undeniable proof of who the fuck we are. But okay, let's keep going.
So walk in and just do something like that. I don't understand that. My mama
Exactly. And y'all know what you also didn't see? Didn't say nothing about no Native American. It's one of the leading causes of the Native American reservations being placed in bed. They losing their land and not abiding by the treaties and all the little random phraseisms I can think of that they've propagandized in my mind over the last 30 years.
the insurance on this house. She keep a roof on this house. She keep these bills paid on this house. My thing is, your house has been here for years. Because of a technicality, you uprooted a family.
Shortly after James Tuggle completed the purchase of the Lewis property last year, the sheriff evicted Michael. So this is where your
trailer was sitting here. Those are the steps to the front entrance. I called the sheriff. Well, it's his property. He can do with what he wants.
The sheriff.
So this same thing happened back then in them days. Like I said, in my opinion, flood the continent, flood the landmass with white folks, vote out the black folks. I believe that 3/5 clause caused us to also be able to be counted less. So they voted themselves in, started at 3/5 of a black people or 3/5 of a person bullshit. So that way when we went to go vote, their numbers wasn't super strong yet, but now they look even less strong so they can outvote us and everything because they just made a rule. Now, when they come up with that 3/5, they be like, you was just 3/5 of a person. They didn't even look at your whole body, nigga. Okay? The whole thing was, they didn't even care about our souls. People want to use that for some feel-good ass bullshit. But no, it was so they could continue to hold power once they got it. Okay, we got power. What laws can we write in here and rules to make these niggas stay out? Okay, nigga, y'all 2/5 of a person. So, I know it's 700,000 of y'all here, and all of y'all voted this year, but only 3/5 of that really counted. So really, that's 400,000 votes. So yeah, unfortunately, we beat y'all. What? Nigga, I would have revolted on the nigga right then and there.
And the Togo could do what he wants.
He can do what he wants. It's his property. I suggest you move the trailer. He says, well, that's all I can tell you. Is there anything I can help you with? I told him no.
Michael ended up with a little over $2,800 for his share of the property. He used it to relocate his trailer home to a half-acre lot nearby.
$2,800, a stimulus check. For those who followed me yesterday, we looked at the Creek Treaty about the Yamasees in Article 3 and 4, and them bitch ass niggas got 30 cents, pennies on the dollars for their land. And when we did the calculations, they came up to about $2,000. And niggas today is still getting $2,000. And that was $2,000 in today's money that we calculated it to. It really would have been like $200-$300 or something like that, whatever in that money there. But it was still $2,000. Niggas today is still getting the same value, pennies on a dollar, being swindled out their land. Fucking crazy. When I do that, man, dude, okay.
All right.
The water line. The water line's across the road. I could be angry to the point that I want to do something to somebody. I mean, you're talking about 125 years of family heritage.
Michael invited us in to see the documents from the local district court that informed them their land was being targeted for sale.
This is a petition that came to us via the sheriff department. This is the very first document that we received.
Yeah, I upload them to YouTube. I'm gonna definitely upload this one probably by tonight. Sometimes I may lag. Like I got 3 or 4 of them I haven't even uploaded yet. I have them saved. Excuse me. I just gotta make some titles for them, and then I'm gonna upload them to YouTube. But yeah, this is gonna be a good one right here.
You're hereby cited to comply with the demand contained in the petition, which office is in the town of Homer, said parish state. You have
There's a lot of
15
words
days after
thrown
this.
at somebody that really can't understand some of the lingo, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And we get up to the office to find out exactly what it is that they're trying to say.
To make sense of these documents and get a better understanding of what happened to the Lewises, we visited the clerk of court, Brian.
Don't that sound just like back in the day? They show up on the Indians' places with some paperwork and we couldn't read that shit? All right.
Flynn.
It's like the same thing, but now they use legalese because now you can read English, right? If we could, or whatever the case, right? Some of us probably still could back then. A lot of us could. That was our language. But regardless, you know what I'm saying? In some cases, some of us may have spoke different languages still too, right? Had the trade language. Some of us may not have known the trade language. Have it, might have had it. I don't know. But either way, there was instances where niggas couldn't read that shit. And I even got one, even in modern times, like around the 1800s, I got a case where his attorney had wrote in saying that he couldn't read whatever they had tried to send him, so whatever was on there was null and void. When I do my thing, man, when I do this documentary, this has got to be another one. Like this, it's a whole nother documentary. I don't even know what the fuck I'm gonna call it, but it's got to talk about the takeover of the Americas and the land grab. And it's got to talk about the value that's in the land. Because I was on there with Goddess, with Crew Cut, before I came over there, and I started talking about how the land, I found these land maps, and all the coal fields, all the goddamn oil and gas fields in the goddamn Americas is on the heirs property areas that we're in. And also, but not to say that this area ain't valuable. This area is valuable and fertile, full of goddamn crops. And that's cool because you want to keep your crops away from your oil and gas shit, in a sense, right? So that's kind of cool too. It's like this, like our Americas was perfectly placed out, promised land like a motherfucker. And on top of that, I think I have the map where they have the gold deposits. Show in all photos. Yeah, I don't know why they. All the gold is situated. A bunch of gold is situated over here. You know where black folks was in mass as well. Even and I can show that proof. But you also have some gold deposits over here in this area too. So valuable, valuable, valuable land. And they've been swindling at us this for a while.
Anything involving a partition lawsuit is filed here in this office.
And let me also say this too. Our landmass has some of the most of those resources in the world out of most continents. Okay, some continents beats us, and most of the continents that beat us, like in oil and gas, is like South America, and maybe Russia. But Russia has like a huge amount. Hold up. Russia has a huge 9, 10. Damn, I'm gonna have to get off here. This is a good one too. Let me let this keep playing because I'm gonna have to get off here in a minute, in a little bit.
I am the custodian of all of these records that you see. So you want to take this out in front?
Yeah, we take it out.
All right, you did.
When it comes to developers, what's the mechanism that they use to track down family members?
They'll come into this office, and then generally you know the piece of property that you're looking for. You know, whether that is because it's got some timber on it or something of that nature. Then what you do is you can look at the tax assessor's office, and the tax assessor's office will give you just a visual plat, a hand-drawn plat of how the property went from one person to the next person to the next.
Now think about this. This is what they was doing back in the day too. Right, come in, take over the land by voting themselves in, and then next thing you know, start instituting state tax things that we don't know about. By this time, is well established, and then you got white folks coming into the tax assessor's office. Anybody ain't pay their shit? Oh, okay. What they got on there? Oh, okay. Yeah. I might have to get that off of them. 20 cent on the dollar. I can get that. I can get that. Yeah. Let me go grab that for you.
Person, and that's how they'll initially find out who owns the property.
So what happened with the Lewises?
The Lewises are a family that is spread out across the United States. So James Terry Tuggle buys into that property. Now, he didn't just buy a sliver of that property. He ended up buying somewhere in the neighborhood of 20%.
Understood.
Once he owns that, he can force the entire thing to be sold.
And that's what he did.
Which he did.
I smell it. Over the course of a decade, Tuggle, a timber developer in town, bought the shares of more than 20 people connected to the Lewis property, most of them from out of state. He declined our request for an interview and didn't respond to our written question.
They were out of state, nigga, calling them on the phone, nigga, finding these folks.
So the sale happens at the sheriff's office, where it is publicly open for bid, and it's sold for $555,000.
And a bargain of a price, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know, $550,000
for 500 acres.
Pennies on the dollar. Okay, what do we show yesterday? I think, and actually one of these cases is that one case. What did we show yesterday? Motherfucking treaty was sold for 30 cents per acre. Pennies on the dollar. Okay, in the treaty, which was set up by some bullshit ass motherfucking fake ass white chiefs at the time. Okay, all right.
Oh, I've seen 17 acres of land sold for $1,800.
So think about it like this. Think about it from a tribal perspective. So now we talked about them coming in, voting themselves in by flooding people to zone in a congressional way, right? And they flood in white people through the from other countries. They vote us out. They institute their laws. They establish state property taxes, buy the land for pennies on the dollar, and go from there. It was a little bit the same in the Indian tribes. Instead of you flood yourself in a little bit, you intermarry or take out a chief or however you do it, and intermarry or make yourself a chief, however you make yourself a chief. Once you make yourself a chief, you institute agreements with the United States called treaties to secede the land for pennies on the dollar. And then as the new settlers come in, they come into the government office to say, how much land can I get if they didn't just get it for free? Keep going.
And believe me, that's disturbing.
The sale he's talking about was made in 2001 to a real estate investor named James Steele, who advertises his ability to force the sale of heirs' property. We caught up with him at a shares auction nearby.
All right, suit number 41821 Tree Investments, LLC versus Maurice Hunter et al. The minimum acceptable bid is $2,294.25. The floor is now open for bids. Do I hear a bid?
Bid cost.
Okay, $2,294.25 is sold. And just put your name right there.
Morning, Jim.
Morning.
How you doing?
Fine.
What just happened today here?
Well, I bought an interest in a piece of land, an undivided interest.
Pay attention. I remember this a little bit. Pay attention.
When it's inherited and there's a lot of heirs. I owned 24 acres out of the 52.
Before the day you did?
Yes.
And now you came and purchased the rest. How much have you paid in total for 52 acres?
I would have to add that up because don't get me wrong, I do a lot of these and I can't keep them all in my head. I would have to add that up because don't get me wrong, I do a lot of these and I can't keep them all in my head.
How does heirs property fit into your overall business model?
To be truthful with it, it's probably 90% of my business model. Even going back to the Civil War, we're doing something that the people in Civil War had it. I mean, they were...
Even going back to the Civil War, I don't remember this, but let's keep going.
Slaves, and they had it. And I've had other landowners come to me and say, well, would you file a lawsuit for me and do this? Because I don't want to be the bad guy. You be the bad guy because you already been the bad guy. You do this all the time. I'll be the bad guy.
You recognize that what you're doing is perceived.
You look at me as evil.
No, I don't know. No, I'm saying no. No, I don't. No, what I'm saying is to the family member.
He don't give a shit. He'll get on camera and don't give a shit.
That wants to sell, you're bringing the bank. You're bringing the money. To the family member that doesn't want to sell, you're evil.
Probably in their eyes.
Yeah.
And some people are sincere about not wanting to sell. They mean it. Most don't. Most say that, but they don't mean it. They just want instant gratification and money now. But there are some that don't want to sell, and it's usually the ones that live on the property that are getting free rent, free everything.
It's their land. That's not free rent.
Well, they're only on a minuscule portion of it. I've heard of it. There are some that don't want to sell, and it's usually the ones that live on the property that are getting free rent, free everything.
It's their land. That's not free rent.
Well, they're only on a minuscule portion.
Oh, man, they just on there living on their land and free rent and all that. Them old freeloaders. All that just sitting on land and shit. Okay? I gotta come take it. They ain't doing nothing with it. They just on there just being lazy. Horrible, ain't it?
I've heard it thousands of times. You can't make me sell my land. And then I respond back. I say, yes, I can.
But it's my land.
Well, it used to be.
That ain't real.
That's literally how they did our ancestors, as they came up after a tax sale that they didn't know about and went to your plantation and he said, well, it is mine now. I'd have been put in jail that night.
The bottom line is what you have is these families who many times owned property for generations, including families who acquired ownership right after the end of the Civil War. Their property rights are instantaneously extinguished.
Think about this. Why do you acquire ownership right after the Civil War? Especially in states where they just moved into and we were already property owners prior. Well, they made it, when the white folks came in, they instituted a law after they flooded the zone and voted us out and all that bullshit, right? They instituted a law that slaves couldn't own land. So technically, it wasn't that you didn't own it. It's just that you was on it. But on paperwork, you couldn't own it. See the trickery? Yeah, that technically was your land, but you didn't have a piece of paper from the office because you couldn't get one from the office. Now, after 1865, you can get a piece of paper from that office. Yeah. And we'll say that you couldn't own land prior to this. Yeah. I know you've been there. Yeah, I know we couldn't get you out because you kept whipping our little lily white asses and shit. But, I understand that. But, well, you just couldn't get this piece of paper, though. We had to institute this little trickery. You see how the trickery goes? You get it? Okay. I got to let this finish because I got to go in a minute.
And then they are stripped of a significant amount of their overall wealth, not just their real estate wealth, because African Americans disproportionately who have assets, it's represented in land and homes. So their single greatest asset now has been sold at a fire sale, and they're getting pennies on the dollar.
Damn.
The way that this system is set up, it seems like it disproportionately affects African Americans who, through legal trickery and threats of violence and lynching and whatnot, land has been taken from them.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
I hadn't lynched anybody like these. But and
yes, he has.
People like me, I'm at least nefarious. I'm an opportunist. I'm a racist. I've been called everything in the world. No, I'm not a racist. I don't go after certain things just because you're black or you're Asian.
Yeah. You can't go after heirs property from white folks because, Because what? Because they don't got none? Okay.
You what?
You going after the
land. So if everybody in the world could sell a piece of land to their brother or their sister or their son, and nobody could build factories, nobody could do anything. It would always be out of commerce and never be able to use. There's no remedy to get it back into commerce. And
do you think it's fair?
It has to be. It has to be fair.
Jim Steele wasn't involved in the forced sale of the Lewis property. James Tuggle, the developer who was, let Greg stay on the land, but his mother decided to leave.
This is my mother's house. When she retired, this became her home.
Why did she leave here?
She left here because she was nervous about whether or not her mama's house was going to be pushed down and whether or not her house was going to be next. She couldn't sleep at night. She just didn't feel safe.
Greg's mother, Miss Trudy Stanley, and other members of the Lewis family tried to formalize their ownership when they found out it was being targeted for sale. Mr. Tuggle was years ahead of them in the process and outbid them during last year's auction. Shortly after that, Miss Stanley moved in with her daughter in Washington, D.C.
It's painful to realize that I don't have it anymore. It's not right. I didn't say I'm not part of the property. Only somebody else came, sold that part, so they affect the whole family. We didn't know the law, so we could protect it. So we lost it.
That's pissing me off.
Every year, we paid the taxes. We didn't just leave it alone to forget it. We took our resources and made sure we got the taxes paid. And everything, that's what we did.
Why do you think your grandfather didn't make a will?
Same here, y'all, man. That's just pissing me the fuck off.
I don't think back during that day they weren't thinking about making a will. But my grandparents prepared for what he knew at the time and what he had to do at the time. Prepare for my family. So I know the difference. Because you need a will. Because there was going to be chaos in their families.
How important was the land to you?
420 acres of land. It means a lot. And to lose it, you had no defense, you know what to do, lost it. That was devastating. Still is.
Crazy.
It will ever, forever be that way. Because that's the law.
Part of the reason we have in the African...
And that's how they do it. They do it person by person. Because if they do it in mass quickly, we would know about it a lot more faster. Be in an uproar, we'd stop it. But because it's more personal, it's almost like these stories that get untold, except through your family who lost that shit.
In the American community, such a high incidence of heirs property is that when African Americans moved from the status of being property themselves to after the Civil War, being able to become landowners,
Right.
hardly any of these families were able to structure the ownership in a way that would be stable because most African American families had no access to attorneys. And there's studies in various southern states that show that it's somewhere between 10 and 40% of all property African Americans own is heirs property because a huge percentage of these families don't have wills or estate plans. And what they know is their property transfers to their heirs. There's a huge...
Although that's our folks, that's the ones they want to show. We had some living way better than that.
Racial will making or estate planning gap. Average white family has 10 times the assets of the average black families. Real estate developers or speculators or investors, they know that. And so what they do...
I bet a lot of them homes we had already built when they flooded in these motherfuckers, as we saw on the motherfucking list, through them years, right? As they flooded in these hoe ass niggas, these motherfuckers took all these motherfucking places. These niggas ain't built hardly shit until they finally got here over some time, and then started learning how. You got to first learn how to deal with our area and how we construct shit over here and everything else first. Bitch ass niggas just got here, blood in his own, right? Okay, well, let's keep going.
Do is they give a lowball price because they know that the family can't even compete against the lowball price.
According to United States Forest Service research, there's around $28 billion worth of heirs property in the South. And that's a conservative estimate. Thomas Mitchell drafted legislation designed to help families.
And in that same South where we also see all the minerals and everything else, in that same goddamn motherfucking South, didn't I just do a motherfucking video on that shit? That shit should have been like right there. Oh yeah. And at the same time, in that same South is where you find the oldest civilizations. They go back as far as goddamn 11,500 BC, according to this nigga in the Alabama history, whatever, as y'all saw in my most recent videos, okay? So not only is it full of all of that, but it's also the most historic area on this planet. But let's keep going.
Hold on to theirs. So far, it's passed in 16 states.
So the first provision is if somebody files one of these lawsuits and requests a court to order the forced sale of the property, what the other owners are then entitled to is to buy out the person who asked for the forced sale. There had been this narrative that black landowners were inevitably going to be extinct by about now. I was like, why are we going to sit back and watch?
Wait a minute, what?
That black landowners were inevitably going to be extinct.
That's why I said, if y'all been holding on to your fucking land for all them years from back in them days, that means you've been holding on to that bitch since they stepped on this landmass. That's how strong your motherfucking people is. And the ones that lost it, they were still strong. You had to trick us out this shit, bitch. You had to trick us out the land. But that's the only way they doing it. Okay, let's keep on.
About now. I was like, why are we going to sit back and watch more and more property and land and homes go, and then on the back end call for reparations, as opposed to trying to stabilize the ownership so that it's not dissipated 20 or 30 years from now.
I'm with that.
My family homesteaded these properties. They raised families on these properties. Mr. Toggle, he ain't gonna build nothing on it. It's all for the timber. All for the timber. Far as you can see on all these hills, this is fresh cut. I mean, right after he purchased, he went to cutting. It was in the family for 125 years.
All of this.
All of this.
These are the kind of documentaries I really want to do.
Houses sat up on the top up here. You can see that it's been wiped clean of pine, and everything that you see pushed up, they're gonna come back and burn it and then replant. This is important that you stick together.
Well, these are the kind of documentaries I want to do visually and audibly. Now, the message they playing, it really sounds like a real good concerning message about us and airship property, right? But under the guise of it, it's the solution they're giving you is to give up your airship status. So that's why Vice is very bad in a sense, because they get millions of views and they will convince you to do the wrong thing, because they pull at your heartstrings. They'll make it look like all that fraud, and it all did happen, and it all is correct, but the solution they're giving you is not the one you want. And it looks so amazing the way they put it together. That's why Vice is one of the worst. That's why I despise them the worst, because they got the formula down packed on how to deliver propaganda. That's what they have. Okay, listen.
You keep your interests together. You hold tight to your interests. And if you plan on doing anything with your interests, make sure you do it in the family. Keep it in the family. That's where we fell short. Because whatever they got from him now is probably gone. Just like everything else.
Man, I gotta go because I'm gonna be in all kind of traffic trying to get to my podcast studio. I got an appointment here at 10. So, man, and it's crazy because this was a great live. From the beginning, we got to see, that yes, we can't count people within these censuses, right? Just to kind of get a recapitulation. I'm gonna have to start saying that just because I act like I done learned something new with recap. That we couldn't explain these people, black people, being added to the census after expansion from the Louisiana Purchase, because they're not coming from any of these other states. All these other states have increases or whatever. So where were the black people coming from, right? We didn't get it in the slave ship manifest. Couldn't find them in newspaper clippings. Couldn't find them in all these other things right there we looked at, right? Then we started being concerned with the white folks. Okay, if there's sharp increases in black people, how many white folks was here during those particular time frames? And then we looked at particular things showing the total amount of white folks coming in and how it increased in Alabama alone. In Alabama, now I'll have to add all these up for Alabama on this one, but on this paper for the 1831, on one of these, it was added up together right here. Alabama all of a sudden has 191,000 white folks and also that 117,000 so-called slaves or black folks. So now you have this within less than 10 years, you have a huge jump of white folks. And I got to double check, triple check by going through these things manually, these census forms, to see if there's a mass amount of people coming from another state or not. But at the same time, I told you the universe and the ancestors accidentally had me click on this in the National Archive records, and we found a list of people coming here between 1820, which would be right when the start of that goddamn Alabama, to 1897. A lot of that shit that happened in the South. And what is this? 998 pages full of people coming over on boats from Germany, Holland, Poland, all this other fuck shit. You can't do it in that one. Germany, Holland, Poland, Poland, England, Germany, all kind of places, Sweden, all kind of places, all kind of people coming over, and their names are listed, so these people know their folks came, right? And they flooded the zone with over probably 998 pages. All this, I don't even know. This could be 400,000, 500,000 folks. It could be almost 1 million. I don't know. I have to go through all this. Well, I ain't gonna go through all that, but I'm gonna just try to get an idea, you know, basically, and do a little slight calculation to see if I can get an idea on the numbers. So then, when you notice that they came in and they flooded the zone, now you start paying attention to, well, yeah, okay, we did have power. Why did we have full power in the South, full of niggas in all of these offices, right? Where the hell is my goddamn shit? Right here. You got Louisiana looking super, super dark black. You got goddamn Mississippi, wherever the hell it is, right here. Mississippi looking half black at this time, and mostly black. Almost half black, and then you got your white folks over here, and there's some black folks over there. Somebody told me they saw a woman on here. People keep telling me they saw a woman. Oh, how did I miss her? Wow, a little mulatto chick. Okay, wow, yeah. Somebody, people kept commenting about, man, that was the first woman in Congress, something. And I was like, a woman? So anyways, so we had a woman in Congress. We had a bunch of niggas in Congress, right? In Mississippi, same thing in Louisiana, same thing in Alabama, right? Alabama, full of Negroes, and there's some white folks that done came in there too. Same thing in goddamn South Carolina, 99 Negroes and some whites. So you're starting to see the takeover, because what happens after about 1920? Nothing but white folks all throughout goddamn Mississippi. So how does that happen? They vote themselves. They flood the zone with immigrants. They all allowed to vote, just like today's time. They flood the zone with immigrants, with Mexicans. They all are allowed to vote. They vote all the niggas out of power over the next several years that they call the Civil War. But really, was it really a civil war? Did they just vote us out, make up this whole story that they made these wars happen? Or maybe some niggas did fight in the Civil War, and maybe the North happened, or maybe we was trying to fight their ass. I'm just trying to come up with conjecture right now. Maybe we was fighting their ass because these niggas done took over the motherfucking place. Okay, who knows exactly? Because there was a ton of colored troops in the South. I wonder why. Okay, so anyway. So then you see that happen, and then we looked at heirs property and how our property was taken, and how was property taken even back then. Well, even we talked about how they was taking it from the Indians, and we was looking at the treaties like last time, where the treaty of the Creek Treaty of 1836 or some shit talks about how they sold the land for 30 cents on a dollar per acre. Damn, I'm gonna have to get out of here. So, and the last thing is heirs property, which is, you know, they started still taking the land, even still to the day. Why are black people the only people with heirs property? They're not just targeting us, we're the only ones that got it. So that's why they coming after us. That's my opinion. I'm gonna have to look further to see if any white folks have it. I'm gonna have to get off here. I hope y'all have a good day. I appreciate y'all being up in here, man, dropping them gems. I'm gonna put this on YouTube and all that good stuff. So y'all enjoy y'all morning.